Hey guys, welcome to episode 1 of Fighting Brainrot, reclaiming critical thinking from the bottom of your feet to stop existing and start living. I am so incredibly happy you're here with me today. In this very first episode, we're going to lay down the foundation. We'll talk about who I am, what this whole brain rot phenomenon actually is, and most importantly, why we desperately need to fight it. So, to start us off, grab a blanket, get cozy, and let me tell you my story. My name is Leonor Fonseca. I'm a 15-year-old Portuguese girl, and if you know me, you know I absolutely love finding new hobbies. Seriously, every summer I pick a brand new hobby and just dive into it until I can confidently say I've mastered the basics. But my all-time favorites, swimming for sure, reading, definitely, watching movies, painting while listening to music, and painting cherries, specifically cherries. Don't ask me why. Baking and crocheting. By the way, I'm actually working on a crochet summer bag right now, so I'll keep you guys updated on how that goes. So far, so good. Now, looking at me, you might think I'm all princess vibes, but I'm openly obsessed with heavy metal and rock. And yes, before you ask, you can absolutely match both aesthetics. My favorite bands are Måneskin and Metallica, but honestly, lately I've been completely captivated by Ray's songwriting. Looking ahead, I'm 100% sure I want to go to college in Porto, but I'm still a little indecisive about my exact career path. But I think it will be languages, literatures, and cultures, specializing in international relations. But here's the other thing I am 100% sure of. I want to leave my mark and change this world for better. And honestly, that pretty much sums up my entire intention with this podcast. This idea has been floating around in my head for a really long time, and this year my school started a new project where every student has to create an independent project about anything they want, however they want, and having that kind of autonomy is amazing. But I have to admit, in the beginning, it was tough for everyone, and I feel like it was even harder for people who don't spend a lot of time trying to get to know themselves. And this podcast will change that, trust me. My my theme is changing myself to inspire others, and I've been keeping myself pretty busy. I'm a writer for the school newspaper. I'm in European club, and I've compiled a quote book that's meant to follow me through every stage of my life and also yours. I've also participated in literary activities, and I run a book talk and bookstagram account called Blooming Shelf. Go give it a follow. I had to take the opportunity to advertise myself, right? On top of that, I wrote a children's book about critical thinking and leaving our mark on the world. And I even held debates with kids. First, I explained what critical thinking is and why it matters and how it's literally around us, and I gave them time to think about it. Then I gave them the floor to propose solutions to real societal problems. It was a way to help them understand that while not everything is possible, like we don't have infinite money to just hand out to everyone in need, we shouldn't settle down either. We can make the world a better place with what we have. Sometimes just a smile is enough to make someone's day a bit more special. I have many other projects I want to bring to life, but this podcast is the medium I choose to reach as many of you as possible. I want to dedicate my energy to building this foundation, creating a safe space where curiosity meets critical thinking, and empowering our community to think deeply. And I promise to do that in the most interesting way I can by exploring cultures from both the present and the past and also the future. Every week, we're going to analyze and explore cinema, books, art, science, history, and philosophy. We'll break down big ideas, famous quotes, and cultural moments through a critical lens, connecting knowledge with real personal growth. And I really hope you find this as fascinating as I do, because let's be honest, we desperately need to learn to question what we consume. We need to see other interpretations of the world to truly expand our horizons. Which brings us to the second topic of our conversation today, something that lies at the very roots of this podcast: brain rot. Brain rot is such a popular expression these days. It was even elected the word of the year in 2024 by the Oxford Dictionary. But if you ask around, most people don't actually know what it means. To quote the Oxford Dictionary directly, brain rot is a perceived loss of intelligence or critical thinking skills as attributed to the overconsumption of unchallenging or inane content or material. It also refers to the content itself that causes this effect. Personally, I look back a few years ago and I feel like social media was a bit more cohesive in terms of depth. You actually had to think a little to understand what you were consuming. Nowadays, it's completely spilled. On one hand, we have incredibly smart creators teaching us amazing facts and sharing strongly reasoned opinions. But on the other hand, we have this massive wave of content that we watch specifically not to think. How far have we come as a society for this to be the norm? Now, the people creating this content are wrong, sure, but they're simply mirroring the baseline of our society. As humans, we naturally try to do the least amount of work possible. If we are given the option not to think, we'll usually choose it. But here's the thing that really bothers me: the only thing that truly separates us from other animals is our highly evolved capacity for deep thoughts. Don't you think we should honor that? Shouldn't we be building a world that is good for us and also for them? Instead, we have this kind of epidemic of not thinking that is destroying the very essence of that, uh, that means to be human, and we are driving other species down with us. Just look at climate change, for example. And also, look, I'm not against AI, but let's be real. Most brain rot content is mass produced using artificial intelligence, and AI requires a massive amount of natural resources to function. So, to get this straight, we are using up more planetary resources than we should, and instead of containing the damage, we are penalizing tools to create content that consumes more resources, bringing zero profit to our society or the next generation, that only feeds the pockets of a select few people and actively makes us less smart. How ridiculous does this sound when you say it out loud? And I'm not even talking about the fact that the hours we spend scrolling through that mindless content could be used to make ourselves better people. Now, I'm not saying we should always be hustling toward a better self without resting. We absolutely need rest. But I assure you, in the past, people knew how to rest properly. They could simply watch a movie. Today, someone who frequently consumes brain rot can barely get through a single film without using a second screen. For anyone who doesn't know, second screening in this scenario means having a movie on while simultaneously scrolling through TikTok or Instagram on your phone. Media companies have noticed this too, and movies are literally being written and edited now with the expectation that you will take your eyes off the screen. That's why so many recent storylines feel so plain, they're so flat and repetitive. But I'll give you my full vision on that in a later episode. It definitely deserves its own dedicated analysis. But the absolute worst thing brain rot has handed us, and for sure the most dangerous, is conformity. As John F. Kennedy beautifully put it, conformity is the jailer of freedom and the enemy of growth. I don't know if any of you have read 1984 by George Orwell, but if you're still listening, I highly recommend you do. And next week's episode is going to be all about this book. But in this novel, we follow Winston Smith, who genuinely feels like he's the only person left who can see the truth because everyone else around him is blindly conforming to whatever the party says. And that kind of blindness is so incredibly dangerous. It sets the perfect stage for authoritarian and vigilant systems. And the scary part is that we have seen this happen in real life throughout history. I know the philosopher George William Frederick Hegel once said that the only thing we learn from history is that we learn nothing from history. But we cannot just settle for that. We can't give up. Maybe, just maybe, talking about this openly will open a few eyes. And sometimes when I'm just sitting around, like doing nothing, I think about this kind of stuff, and a wave of paranoia, literal paranoia, hits me. I think, what if I'm the one being fooled here? Who guarantees me that I'm actually free? There are so many countries where people live under intense oppression and don't even realize it. What if we are in the exact same situation? But if we were completely brainwashed, we wouldn't be having these existential thoughts, right? But on the other hand, someone can be making us think about this, right? I do think about this stuff. Yeah, for real. And please tell me I'm not the only one staring at the ceiling thinking about this and dying inside. At the end of the day, that is exactly why I started this podcast. Brainrot wants us to switch off our minds, look away, and accept the world exactly as it is fed through to us through a 5-second clip. But we are capable of so much more. I trust humanity. By choosing curiosity over conformity and critical thinking over mindless scrolling, we take back our power. We start moving away from just existing, and we actually start living. Thank you so much for tuning into this very first episode of Fighting Brain Rot. It means the world to have you along for this journey. Don't forget to check out my book pages at Blooming Shelf, and make sure to hit follow so you don't miss next week's deep dive into George Orwell's 1984. And trust me, you won't want a second screen through that one. Until next time, keep questioning, keep thinking, and stay curious. Bye, guys.